Hello friends! Today we are trying out the new Cozy Cabin collection by Simply Posh Cosmetics. I received it a little bit late because, you know, I live in Sweden, I can't always get the new releases in time, and that's totally my fault for living here, I guess. I'm just kidding. We are here and I will try out as many of the shades as possible. It's a collection of 2 pieces, one eyeshadow palette and one blush palette. I actually own the first version of the Cozy Cabin palette that released a couple of years ago, and that was what instantly made me fall in love with the brand. So I'm super excited to see how it has improved, how similar they are, and I will of course tell you the differences if it even is the same palette, because judging by how it looks in the pans I can't tell any difference besides that it has a similar vibe. I'm only wearing base makeup today because I'm going to show you the blushes on my cheeks. Hopefully it will go well, because I had the idea of applying the blushes on each cheek and then reapply foundation and then apply the blush on the cheeks and then decide what blush I will go with for the look I'm going to demonstrate for you, just so you can get a picture of how the blushes looks on my skin tone. I have grabbed my fancy blush brushes and I will apply every blush with a different brush, just so you can definitely know that I'm not mixing the shades. Before I forget it, I just want to make a disclaimer that I was kindly gifted those products from the brand, but as I mentioned earlier, I have been a customer of them since the beginning and I really adore the products. It's definitely one of my favorite brands, and even if I didn't was gifted those products, I would buy them in a heartbeat, honestly, because the formula is so good. So the blush and cheek palette is called Cozy Up Cheek Palette. It contains 4 pretty highlighters and 4 pretty blushes in different shades. When I swatched it, I could see that the highlighter didn't have this sparkly formula. It's more like a subtle effect, I think, but we will see when I try it on the cheeks. And when it comes to the blushes, it felt like not matte, more like a satin finish. I can imagine that they have a glowy or radiant finish on the skin, but that's what we are going to find out. Okay, with no further talk, I will go on and apply them on my cheeks. I'm grabbing my Sonja G Classic Chic brush. It looks like this. It's a really good brush for blush application. I will pick the shade Snug. It's the lightest shade of the bunch, and we will see how it looks on my cheeks. And now I will apply them quite heavily, just so you can get the idea of how they look like. And it's definitely more pigmented than I was expecting when I just swatched it. I'm really impressed now, because I didn't expect to like this shade. I was like, this won't show up that well on my cheeks, but I think you can tell that it actually is showing up really well. On the same cheek I will apply the lightest highlighter, it's called Snowed In. Now I will go in with my Refer number 19 brush and go in with the shade Warm Wishes. Before anyone starts thinking that I was gifted any of those brushes, I wasn't. I'm just a normal consumer. I have bought all my brushes from Refer and Sonjaji, so I just love them, and I know that people are curious to know which kind of brushes I use, so I try to be more clear about that in my videos, because in my other videos I haven't really been talking so much about it. And I will go in with the highlighter called Merry and Bright. It's a pink highlighter. Those blushes I just tried together with the highlighters are probably the most suitable for fair to medium skin. I can also see darker skin using them, but I think that the other shades that I'm going to try now will probably be too dark for someone with lighter skin than me, but it's all about preference, I think. Now I will go in with my Sonjaji Phase 2 brush. I really love this shape because I love very precise blush application. And the shade I will use with this brush is called Cozy Up. It's a coral reddish shade that I think will be super pretty on darker skin. And honestly, I feel like I can get away with this kind of shade too, but I feel like I need to be more careful with which kind of makeup I will combine it with. I will now take the shade Miracle and apply it on the cheek. I'm curious to see if it actually will work on my skin, because judging by the swatches I think it will, but we will see. Okay, you know what? This shade is probably the most suitable for my skin tone in my opinion, because it kind of melts into my skin tone. And I did apply way too much, I realize now. I think this formula was maybe a little bit more soft or something. Did I take the right brush now? Yes, it's the right brush. I'm going to use the Refer 05 and apply the darkest blush. It's called Winterberry, very suitable shade name for this shade. Last but not least, I will use the darkest highlighter. It's called Sweater Weather, and it's a goldish shade, very pretty in the pan. Okay, so I have already formed a kind of opinion about this blush palette. The formula is really nice. It is actually much prettier on the cheeks than it is on the arm swatches in my opinion, which is a really good thing, I think. The blush formula is thin, and it means that you can build up the pigmentation. Here I have really been applying a lot just so you can see the differences in the shades. You can also go in lighter if you want that. The pigmentation is there. I like the shade selection. And on me I feel like the shades are pretty different, but I have heard that some people would have wished a more toasty or brownish shade, and I mean, I'm all in for those shades, so I wouldn't be sad if it was included in this palette, but I still like it as it is too. Yeah, the highlighters are prettier than I expected, because I didn't expect that all the shades would work on my skin tone, but they actually do, so that's really good too. The shade Winterberry, the darkest blush shade, is slightly too dark for my skin tone in my humble opinion, but I can definitely see that it's a very pretty blush when you do the ombre draping effect on the cheeks, so I will definitely try that. But on their own I feel like it's a little bit too, I don't know, it's maybe just a preference, but you can see it kind of looks a little bit too much on my skin. So on my cheeks I now wear the shade Snug on the apple of my cheeks, and then I have Warm Wishes in the Draped Effect. And I also wear Miracle and mixed with Weather on the highlighter. I might apply more blush later on, but I don't like to wear too much blush before I have seen my eye look, because I know that it can clash too much sometimes. So I will start out here and see where it goes when I'm finished with my eye look. I was also gifted some brushes from Texamo Brushes. They are small eye brushes and fluffy, and I'm quite excited to see how they perform on the eye, because I'm planning to maybe do a video about smaller eye brushes, because I know that it's hard to find, and I have quite a good experience about them. So I want to provide both expensive alternatives and also mid-range and also budget alternatives. So we will see how those goes to the test. Since this palette contains so many shades, I will probably do a two-toned eye look, so I can try as many shades as possible, but I will try to match the design as much I can. First I want to dip into the green. That's a very pretty shade. It's hard to describe, but those colors really gives me that cozy vibes. So the undertones is really well done. As always, when it comes to my two-toned looks, or when I'm just trying out a new palette, I can't promise that it will be a pretty look, because I just want to try as many shades as possible and try out the performance. So we will see where it goes, but right now it looks kind of strange, kind of cool, I think. One thing I already noticed with those brushes are that they are shedding brush hair. We will see if they still shed after washing them a couple of times, but right now I can see that I have brush hair a bit of everywhere. So this is going to be a bold choice, but hopefully it works. I will put the orange in the crease here. I'm worried that it won't show up, but it shows up, okay. It did show up. And that's what I love so much about Simply Posh Cosmetics. Their eyeshadow really allows you to do those creative, crazy looks, because you can layer them on top of each other. So yeah, I'm just so impressed. Another bold choice. I'm not sure if this will show up, but I will try the shade Wintry. It's a bluish shade, and we will see how it looks. Yep, shows up. Oh wow. Now I will use the matte shades that I haven't used on the eyes yet and put them on the low lash line. So this isn't going to be an easy task, because I will try to fit as many of the shimmers on my lids, but it's quite a lot of shimmers, so we will see how it goes. Gorgeous shade, gorgeous. Wow! Didn't expect that shift. Okay, I have to say that this combination of shimmers was actually cooler than I was thinking from the beginning. So I will try and see how I can do the other eye. Congratulations, Simply Posh Cosmetics, you have done it again. I don't know how they do it, but they do it. They do it so well. I love all my Simply Posh cosmetic palettes so much, and this one doesn't seem to be an exception, because I managed to use all the shades and I love it. Now this might be a quite crazy look, but I still love how the shades performed. I will clean up it a little bit and then come back to you. Well, that escalated quickly. I have no idea what happened, but I'm kind of into it. My first impression is that the palette performs really well, but I will of course continue to use it and see how it performs after using it a couple of more times. But my first impression is that the formula is very good per usual, as when it comes to Simply Posh Cosmetics. The mattes blends very nicely. They are buildable, but they are still pigmented. It's hard to explain, but it's a really good formula and it's one of my favorites when it comes to mattes. And I also love the shimmers. They aren't that super creamy formula that we see in some of the indie palettes, but still super impactful and sparkly and multi-dimensional, which I really love. When it comes to the blushes, I really like them. They are super pretty on the skin. I love the tones. They are very versatile, because I can imagine they looking good on a lot of different skin tones, and the same goes with the highlighters. Another thing that I really appreciate about Simply Posh Cosmetics is that their pans are magnetic, so you can just switch them out and build your own color stories or bring them in another magnetic palette. So that's really a big plus for me. This was it for this video, but I will get back to you and tell you my full-on thoughts about the palettes when I have used them in a good amount of time. If you want to know the other details about my look, I will link it below, or at least write it out in the caption so you know what's on my lids. Thank you so much for watching. Hope to see you soon. Bye bye!